Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Celia. Nice to see you all here. So we have a good class tonight. I first of all want to welcome everybody as always, because there's always new people joining us. And some of you may be watching us this week on Facebook or YouTube. So if you are finding us for the first time that way, please send us a message so we can include you in our broadcast. After each lesson, there's a chance for people to interact a bit, and it's always wonderful to meet new people. You can say hello, I'm from wherever you are, or you can just listen. So I don't want anyone to feel obligated to share either, but it's great to have that time together. So let me see what Jimmy did all the announcements. We do have a creative living class that goes on Wednesdays now, which was yesterday. We've had different facilitators. I have facilitated. Jimmy did last night. Solomon has, and it's always something good and different. So if you're able to join us on Wednesdays, please do. This particular class is probably the longest held Louise class anywhere in the country, because we've always been, or at least I have always been, weekly doing a self-healing presentation. And I've been involved with her work since the book first came out, You Can Heal Your Life. So I'm really thrilled to continue to be able to share that work, because more than anyone, it's the work of Louise Hay that brings us together. So we're grateful for her work. We're grateful that she started here with us, learning the teaching here. Tonight it's Mindful Evolution. I had different titles for this particular lesson, and I suppose I could have called it Doing the Work, but then people sometimes don't like the word work. So we want to find the way that works best for us to evolve consciously, mindfully, because we have power to use. You'll hear me say, quoting Ernest Holmes, there's power for good in the universe greater than you, of which you are a part. And then he said, and you can use it. So we want to make it exciting. We want to make our lives exciting, exhilarating, and we want to do it mindfully. I don't want to learn through mistakes all the time. I'd like to think I can learn by listening to the lessons and applying some of the things I'm learning. So I talked about a week ago or two an idea that came from Stuart Wilde, which was life doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be. Now, it certainly is for most people, but it doesn't have to be. Ernest Holmes said, suffering is not God ordained, and yet we suffer a lot, and people are miserable. And then we've also heard misery is optional. It is, and yet there's a lot of people that are miserable. There's a lot of people who suffer. And so how do we square all these ideas that life doesn't have to be a struggle, misery is optional, and suffering is not God ordained? So the thing I'll tell you is, so much of what we do to ourselves. And I think most of you who are here, you probably already realized. So we have the power to create reality, or at least greatly improve our reality, if we're willing to do this inner, I hate to call it work, but we have the power to have different outcomes, greater lives, bigger lives, lives that are more interesting, more fun, as we learn how to step out of these lesser places in consciousness where we create misery and strife, and we make people opponents in our mind where they really aren't. We learn here that people are doing the best they can with what they have. And so why would I want to take all that on and make them my enemy? I mean, it's just ridiculous. When I do that, I do it, and then I realize, I could see peace instead of this. I could see this person in a different way. I could be in a new moment with them. But see, I can't do that if I'm not loving myself. So it always comes back to the work of Louise Hay. I love, accept, and approve of myself, she would say. exactly as I am. And she said, we must be willing to release the past and forgive everyone. Think about that for a while. Release the past and forgive everyone. So we have a practice, you know. I've been teaching this teaching for I don't know how many years, lots of years. And it's the same thing. We keep practicing the good in people, places, and things. You know, we're learning to be lifters. We're here to see the good. We're here to see the good in our own lives. We're here to lift ourselves up, our consciousness up. And as soon as we find ourselves being really critical of ourselves or others, we know that we have missed the mark. From the ancient Aramaic, the word sin, really, that's all it means, missing the mark. So if I'm focused on what any of you are doing wrong, or, you know, if I'm, what my generation will call it, if I'm tripping about who's wrong, what's wrong, and all of that stuff, it's not that I'm a bad person, it's just that I've missed the mark. I'm kind of like lost in space, and I'm in this like nowhere land that I'm not going to create what I want to create when I'm doing that. So our focus is, if we want to stay on the beam, is we want to realize that we are cause to our own creation, okay? We are the thing that creates the thing, you know? And so we have this power. We don't know that we have it, but we do. So if we keep at it, we keep thinking affirmatively and positively, we will change our experiences, and ultimately we're going to have positive demonstrations. Most people, but not all people, struggle in life, and you know, and most of the struggles that people have are somewhat self-imposed. I can recall years ago presenting the law of attraction to a church group that I was leading, and you know, everybody was coming to the law of attraction. I had more people show up to that class. It lasted for like 23 weeks, and people just came and they came and they came because everybody wanted to learn how to demonstrate like wealth and success. And they saw the movie and they wanted to magically demonstrate, like there was necklaces and there was $1 million homes and there was bicycles, and you know, the law of attraction showed how through your visualization, you know, you can draw things into your world. People wanted to magically have these demonstrations in answer to their affirmations. And then I noticed, you know, the attendance started dropping off after a while, and people were disappointed, and they're thinking, well, this doesn't work, this teaching doesn't work. And they left because really there's more to getting a demonstration than just creating a great vision or having affirmations. Having a great vision, of course, is really creative, and as you think about it, you write it down, and you create a board or whatever you do, you know, if you do that and you're working in a journal and you're letting yourself explore great ideas, and you have an idea of who you could be in life and who you've come here to be, as you do that, the universe starts acting upon all your great ideas. Your vision is starting to be formed, and the universe doesn't wait for you to finish it. It starts bringing you stuff. And as you're doing this, visioning consciously, you are choosing, and you're choosing to write down these things on your vision boards and your journals. It's a very powerful process, and it starts to shape things up in your life. In a similar way, using affirmations throughout your day, that's what I did mostly, but I did both. Using affirmations throughout your day is another important tool because you're building up your consciousness. And here too, even if you haven't learned how to do an affirmative prayer entirely, but if you're building up your consciousness through affirmations and learning how to do denials, you're going to start to have things show up in your life. These are called demonstrations, if you haven't ever heard them, called, if you're really new, or some people call it manifestations. Whatever you want to call it, it's the way it works. It's the law of mind, it's the law of life, it's the law of correspondence. You are starting to demonstrate an outer experience of your inner thinking and beliefs. And there's nothing coincidental about it. It's the law of mind, it happens. You have that kind of power, though many of you don't realize you have it. And it comes from lifting up your consciousness when you start to have these positive experiences. The law of mind also works when if you're down in the dumps and you're thinking negatively all the time and you're a constant person who worries, or my old teachers would say, if you're always going around, ain't it awful, and the sky is falling, and America's going to hell and all that, if that's what you're doing, then you're just creating a fearful world for yourself. So the thing to remember, here's a good affirmation which I've used myself. I am the only thinker in my world, in my mind. Okay, so you get to choose, you get to decide. Please don't let other people do their thinking for you. You have direct access to the divine. Deep within everybody, it's there. You may not be listening, but I promise you, if you start meditating, pausing, journaling, taking the time, you will start to get these messages. It will come to you out of the blue. It's reliable. It'll come to you all, you can't shut it up after a while, You can ask yourself a question: what's the most self-loving thing I can do about this situation? The answer is there. Now, whether you want to follow up on it or not, whether you have the willingness to follow the lead is another question. So we here learn to do the work in consciousness. And as a result, we want to consciously evolve. That means we don't have to make all the mistakes. We can learn. And so we lift our sights high, and we have a greater vision, and we can somewhat effortlessly step into these different worlds. David Walker, who was a great minister, used to be a past president, said, we're creating avenues in mind. And he was talking about in consciousness, because the kingdom of God, or good, is at hand. And if you're not experiencing all the goodness, then the expression from the Course in Miracles is, then something's gone wrong. And so you live in a perfect world. Nothing's gone wrong, except you haven't yet opened up your eyes, and you don't have yet the ability to see the God, the good that's here. You have power that you can use. You have power within you that you can draw upon. So this week, tonight, we're talking about doing this inner work. And I've already given you a bunch of suggestions, but everybody's on our own path. And some of us are experiencing, I'll call them setbacks, and things don't seem to be working out. It's never abandon the path, is all I can say. Because, sometimes it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps backward, or, however they say that expression. It doesn't work in a straight line. You just really want to have the consciousness where you stay the course. Our inner dialogue is the most important thing that we can have. And every Thursday, I generally ask the question of the group, what has it been like being you this week? Have you been a lifter? Has your consciousness been up? Have you been kind of like an upbeat person, a fun person? Have you been a person who's praising yourself and others? It's really important to start to get a handle on, just notice what it's like living with yourself. And it's the tendency of thought. Some of my great colleagues over the years said it's not so much about the every single thought, it's the tendency of your thinking that is creating your life. Your whole life experience, everything that's on the outer is a result of the tendency of your inner thought process. Often I'll say here in this class and others that we need to learn to become the guardian at the gate. And I'm talking about the gate of our own consciousness, because life is responding to what we think and believe. So we want to monitor if you're just talking crap, and garbage and gossiping, and if you're just going for the lowest common denominator out there in terms of what people are talking about, you're not setting the bar very high. Bill Tolliver, Dr. Bill, one of my great teachers, used to say, you hear me say this often, he said, you can commune today with some of the greatest minds that have ever lived, and why not spend some time entertaining some of these great ideas? In my lifetime, it's probably been some of the best time I've ever spent. I don't know, you can do it in so many ways too. Maybe you don't like to read, so you can do it with YouTube, you can do it with TED Talks, you can do it, there's so many ways, but books are always wonderful. Why would you want to keep, if I want to learn how to be prosperous, I probably want to hang out with some people who can demonstrate some prosperity. It's just, the sky is absolutely the limit for all of us. You can have such a great life. So part of what we learn here, so we really start to ask ourselves some big questions, because we're in the express business. We're spiritual beings, and we're here to learn and grow and expand, and there's lessons after lessons. And hopefully we're developing a positive, affirmative mentality where we're here to expect the best, to know that we deserve the best, and we learn to love ourselves, and we stop criticizing ourselves. And this is, ought to be an exciting thing for you. This teaching is really such an exciting process. But it depends upon you. Because you can tune in here, and I'm going to tell you how wonderful you are every single week, how great you are, because I know without knowing every one of you that you are spiritual beings, and you're all evolving, and you're great, and you're wonderful, and you're growing, and you're destined for success. But you can do that mindfully, consciously, and you can accelerate the process yourself by just waking up to the fact that you are that person, and you have this power within you that you can use. I have a small list of things that people do that slow their progress down. I know that just about everybody on this call wants more, that they want to mindfully evolve. I know you want to have you want great and meaningful demonstrations. And some of you are working on vision boards and journaling, and you're developing a bigger vision for yourself. And as you do that, you're going to walk right into it, And I realize some of you have come into this world, and now you're starting to realize, I'm here to be somebody. I'm here to express something important in my family or in whatever area of my life. And this is wonderful because everybody came here to do that. Now, you might think, well, his vision is greater than mine and all that, and that's a real trap. Whatever it is that you're here to express as a mother, as a father, as any occupation, whatever it is that's your thing to do, it's wonderful. And you're here to pursue it and be it. And there's nothing holding you back ever, really, except the things you tell yourself. Some of us have a lot of doubts. Many of us have insecurity. Some of us are fearful. I'm saying some of us, meaning I have been all these things, doubt and fear and insecurity. But, there's something within us that pushes us forward. Spirit is within us, and it's always, as Emerson would suggest, wooing us, attempting to get our attention. Because we're here to evolve and to grow and to let go of the things that don't serve us. Some people are very fearful. So in this self-healing class, this Louise Hay class, based on the book You Can Heal Your Life, we're always here to encourage you to grow and to show up. And we're going to show you the ways that we trip ourselves up. So let's assuming you're starting to have some demonstrations now. I know some of you call me, they tell me, your life is better now because of the classes and because you're paying attention to what you're thinking and you're practicing seeing the good, and you're learning to take the high road, giving yourself a break, giving other people a break. And as you're basically telling me you're learning to love yourself and you're learning to extend that to others. And then you get in a place where you notice things aren't working the way you want on some given day. And maybe you notice you're having problems with people. Whenever this happens, I'm here to tell you, you can turn it around in a minute simply by taking a pause, regrouping, centering yourself, slowing it down, and say to yourself, I could see peace instead of this. You can tell yourself all is well, and let that reality sink into your consciousness. And tell yourself, I'm one with power. I have power to use, and you can use it in any moment to turn your life around. You can literally make a new beginning. Barker, Raymond Charles said, yesterday ended last night. AA used to say it's never too late to start your day over. So wherever you are, where you find yourself in a mess, you've been tripping, you're engaging in something that, you just stop in the name of love and just say, okay, restart. I'm supplied and supported. I'm loving and lovable, and just begin from there. Because we have a tendency as people, oftentimes to self-sabotage. We forget that we are one with power. We forget that the greatest power in the world is right within us. Here's a short list I put together of things people commonly do to derail themselves. First and foremost, people engage in negative talk. They engage in negative self-talk. Negative talk, negative self-talk, self-doubt. If you could somehow, some way stop that or release the need for it, or when you catch yourself going there, does it mean talking about yourself or just thinking you're not good enough or talking about other people or gossiping? Just wherever it is, stop. Stop in the name of love. Whatever you have to do to turn that around, do it as fast as you can. But don't do it in a way where you're condemning yourself. Do it as you would do to a best friend. Talk to yourself gently and just say, hey, this isn't going to take me where I want to go, and start again. The next thing that people do to self-sabotage is there's fear. There's a lot of fear. People fear failing. They fear if I do this, it won't work. If it's something new, they're lacking courage. I don't know what it is, but so life is all about taking risks. Anybody who's getting older, you probably know that by now. You just take risks. So somehow you got to develop the courage so you don't miss the opportunities. People have a fear of success just as much as they have a fear of failing. So I want to encourage everybody to develop your visions, take a few risks, step out of your comfort zone. The third thing that I put together that can thwart people is people believe that they're not good enough in some way, or they've got this deep sense of unworthiness and shame. And shame, oftentimes has been since we're kids. But somehow, some way, when you find yourself in these places, find an affirmation that'll work, or do some prayer treatment, affirmative prayer, call the center, we'll talk you through it if but want to get past that. Next thing is self-sabotaging is when people are holding on to resentments and grudges, or there's a past trauma that happened, maybe in a marriage or when you were a child, and it seems to prevent you from moving forward to meeting another person, or going out of your apartment. I've heard lots of people talk about a lot of things. People haven't been out of their apartments since COVID started, and there's a lot of trauma. And so, reach out for help. There's people to call me, and I will either help or I'll find you, help you find somebody. So we want to release the past. We want to forgive people. We want to, please don't hold on to any resentments or grudges. Be the first, go to forgive people as soon as you can. Another thing that holds people back is a lot of people are very hot-headed and reactive, and they haven't learned how to practice self-discipline at all. And that will thwart all this spiritual stuff we're talking about having a great vision, wanting a great life, and affirming it. It's wonderful, and it'll happen. But if you're reacting to everything that's happening all the time, you're going to screw yourself up. It's your consciousness is going to stop it, you from demonstrating what you want to demonstrate. Next thing that causes people to derail themselves is complete procrastination. So after you get clear about your vision, and you've done your affirmative work, and you've built yourself in consciousness, then start doing things. Pick up the phone, call that person. You have that meeting. Walk out your door. Start it. Do something, right? Because you won't want to be waking up 5-10 years later and just say, I wish I had called that person. I wish I'd taken the chance with this relationship. I wish I had done this or wish I had done that. Another thing, I only have a couple more. You say that you're here and you want to grow and you've got this vision, right? And you say you're open-minded and you're teachable and you know that life is about change, and then all of a sudden closed-mindedness creeps in. You know, the universe is giving you clues and great ideas, and you've just decided this is not going to work because, you know, narrow-mindedness and closed-mindedness. So you're kind of like working against yourself. You know, when we have these great ideas, we really need to be open and receptive to the clues that we will get. The clues might come to you through the universe. It might come to you from your inner knowing. It might come from one of your good friends who gives you a suggestion. And you don't want to automatically shut it down. One of my great teachers used to say, because he didn't like being challenged, but he was smart. He used to say, my healthy self is going to take this under advisement. So basically he would sit with it because he would know he would have a tendency to shut some things down. And he really did want to grow and expand, and he was all about that, and he taught us, you know, about that. So that was a great line for me. My healthy side is going to take this one under advisement because I don't want to be closed-minded. Another thing that thwarts our forward movement and can stop our demonstrating the kind of lives that we're meant to have and we want to have is when we're in complete resistance. Just don't want to go out on a new date, don't want to go here, don't want to go there, you don't want to take a different route. I've told people on Sundays, you know, because you get so caught up in your routines, I said, start taking a different route home. You know, take a different street, see different faces, interact with different people. So life is about change, and let's be open and receptive to change. Next word, it's only two more. So you got this great vision, you know that life is going to say yes to you, you know, so we don't want to have our demonstrations interrupted because we have all these attachments. If I taught you affirmative prayer the way Dr. Holmes taught it, he would say you're planting these seeds, these new thoughts into the fertile soil of mind, and they're gonna bear fruit. You know, and then we release these perfect thoughts. But if you're gonna go out there in that garden next week and you're gonna dig those plants up because you wanna see the growth, you're gonna be killing off the plant. So if you have attachments on how everything is supposed to turn out, then you're going to stop the universe from bringing forth the demonstration that you want. You know, when you have the great ideas, have the great ideas, and stay with them. And, you know, and just keep expressing gratitude, and you know that the demonstration is here and it's happening now. And please don't be attached to how it shapes up, where it comes from, because let the universe do the work. Always pray or do your affirmative prayer for this or something better, because you're always going to get something better. The universe is here to deliver the goods to you, but you want to set it up so that, first of all, that you know it, you proclaim it, you feel it, you sense it, and you bring it in consciousness. We're doing important work, as Jimmy said, and we're not going down. You know, you're here to grow and you're here to evolve, and you can do this. So last point, which will definitely interrupt and thwart your demonstrations and your success if you believe that your circumstances cannot change, if you have an undercurrent belief that your health can't be improved, or that your marriage is over, or your life is this, that, or the other thing, if you say it's over, personally, and you believe it's over, then you're working against yourself in your positive process of, you know, if you're visioning the best and you have an idea and you're really wanting that to happen, and you've got these affirmations that you're building up your consciousness, you're going to have a demonstration eventually. Ernest Holmes again said it's the time, the art, and the method of ridding the negativity, the negation, and you will have your demonstrations, your manifestations. But if you are, again, believing that it never can happen, then, you know, what have you accomplished? You know, you put the law in motion with the affirmations and the positive, and then you're going to knock it off with, you know, in that case, you have to do your affirmative prayer around your unbelief. which used to be called the prayer of St. Peter, by the way. Dear Lord, I believe, please help my unbelief. So, because it's your unbelief that will be your undoing. So, this whole process of life is fluid. We forget how fluid it is. You know, we're in these circumstances that seem like too much, but it really changes very quickly. And you have tremendous power at your disposal. So today I want to credit all of you who've been on these calls, you know, since we started doing them, because I know you've grown a lot. I'm hearing it's obvious to me as I listen to all your remarks. We get so many positive comments coming from everywhere, so it encourages us to keep the programming going and keep the message going. Some people disappear for a week or two, and then I wonder if they're gone and they come back. So all of us are evolving and growing. Some of us are longing for change, and some of you really want to do the work, and that's really exciting. If you're vigilant, you're going to see change sooner than later. The process of learning is always the same, no matter what the subject is. Whether I'm learning a new program on my computer or my iPhone, or learning to drive, if you're learning to drive a car, or a new game of some kind, or a language, you know, you just have to stay at it and keep positive about it. There's a process and a certain effort that's needed to master anything. Ernest Holmes, I believe, or might have come from Emerson, said that we pay for everything in spiritual coin. And see, that was the thing that they left out of the movie, the book, The Secret. We can demonstrate health and wealth and every kind of success with our interpersonal relationship, but we do have to pay for it in spiritual coin, meaning I have to stop being miserly if I want to be prosperous. I need to be more loving if I want to be receiving love. You know, that's the work. You know, you have to put something in. Louise said it a different way. What I put out or what I give out comes back to me. So we pay for everything in spiritual coin, and it's all saying the same thing. If you can imagine there's an enormous mirror in this room or in your room that's reflecting back every single thought you're thinking, that would shake you up. It would shake me up. But it's really the way it works. So we've heard the expression before, whatever is done in the dark comes to the light eventually. Or I've heard said, you know what's known somewhere is known everywhere. And that's because we're all intertwined. We share, we all live, move, and have our being in this one life, this one energy. So we don't focus on other people. We focus on ourselves and cleaning up our own act and elevating our consciousness and realizing as we elevate ourselves, we're lifting up everybody else anyway. Our outer lives are always a reflection of our inner beliefs. The universe responds to our every single thought. Please stop thinking of yourself as powerless. You are in fact the opposite of powerless. You are powerful beyond your knowing. You might need to do some spiritual housekeeping, some kind of some kind, and learn how to stop the negative thinking and all of that. If you don't know now, you will soon discover and understand how this process works. So we're getting into that today. Sadly, most people's deep-seated programming is more negative than positive. You've probably heard the phrase race consciousness. What that suggests is most people in the world, their programming is negative, and they're coming from this place of a disconnect, or some people say brokenness. When I say that, I'm saying when people are talking about what's missing and what's wrong all the time with themselves and others, they're forgetting that they are one with Source. This inner power is theirs. It's in them, operating through them. It's what animates them, and it responds to them. They're forgetting that they're one with the One. And they're also forgetting that they're one with every other living person. So that's the real work, waking up and realizing that you are one with life, and it's exciting. And then we start to practice. I'm one with him, I'm one with her, I'm one with them, I'm one with everybody on this call. And it's just the idea of namaste, I salute the divinity and you, and everybody, because everybody's a part of everybody else. And for God's sake, we stop pointing the fingers at people. Because, You know, whenever you're seeing in other people that's flawed and missing, it's stuff that's in us that we still have to work on. So it's, if you're developing a more compassionate heart and mind, you don't really have much to say about what other people are doing. So we forget we're here to grow and evolve and love ourselves, and that we're here to love others. We forget this often. When we learn to practice doing our affirmations and learning how to do affirmative prayer, we're going to come to know that there's one energy, one life, and we're each part of it. It's in every single one of us, and we know it. It's here, it's now, it's in all of us. When we wake up to the realization that this power, this life is in us, and it's equally in everybody, usually that quiets us down quite a bit. The kingdom of good is at hand, and it's in me, and it's operating through me. And as you say that, you know it's true for every living soul on the planet. We recognize and know that there is this source within. We breathe it in, and we reflect on it, and we know that it is responding to us 24/7. People don't like thinking themselves of being in separation from their good. When we've lost faith in ourselves and in life, and when we're being critical of everything, including ourselves, we're not then coming from a connected place. We're the prodigal child. We're off in the weeds. We've just forgotten who we are. Most human beings are caught up in all the things that are happening outside of them. They're reacting to everything. Instead of thinking, I am cause to my own experience. The focus again goes towards what other people are doing or what other people are doing to them. You've heard people say things like, they're involved in cutthroat competition, or in business, it's survival of the fittest. And you'll hear people say it's everybody's out for themselves, or it's a cold and ruthless world. Or I remember when I was younger, people would say it's a dog-eat-dog world, or where the winner takes all. And you may say, that's not me, I'm not that way anymore at least. And good. Most everyone on the broadcast, most of you are really working on yourself spiritually, and I know you're in a different place, thankfully. But know that most people are, most people like you who are trying to live your lives mindfully in this world are still somewhat rare. So all these other types of folks are living in a consciousness of separation. And it's not that anybody is bad, but that's the way of the world at present. People who are in New Thought are practicing the presence of God, the awareness of God, moment by moment. And they're willing to start their days over wherever they find themselves going off track. They're cultivating the awareness of spirit within, or source, whatever name you want to use. You are remembering it is present now in you, and it's responding to you. And as we practice knowing there's always good or God at hand, we show up as positive people. We're the whole bit, as Barker said. It's all here for us, operating through us. You have everything you need. When everyone is reacting, we show up as a different type of person. If we're practicing, we are calm because we know all is well. And we're not reacting anymore to the things that we might have before. Most of us have learned, you learn early how to put on a mask and how to be in society, but we're here, if we're practicing this teaching, it's more than putting on a mask. We want to be that person who's calm, peaceful, poised, loving, lovable, and have a very optimistic view of life, and to celebrate the wonderful life that we have and know that we're very fortunate to be here and able to see what we can see and express it.